Welcome into Roaring with the Bengals here on isubengals.com, our second foray into the podcast space. I'm Brandon Baney, joined by Taylor Mazzone, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach for the ISU football team. Coach Mazzone, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
You know, we had Coach Regal last week, Charlie Regal, the head coach. He set the bar medium height.
Okay.
So
there's room to improve, huh? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. Always room for improvement. And I feel bad, you know, Coach Regal ducking me a little bit, right? I guess my questions were a little too hard-hitting.
He's a busy man.
Well, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. To start with, just give Bengal Nation a brief introduction to yourself, who you are, where you're from. You've been all over coaching the last several years. But
Taylor Mazzone, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach. I claim North Carolina as home. I've been around a lot of universities. Recently, for a short season, I was at the University of San Diego. I was in the Pac-12 after that for about 6-7 years at University of Arizona. I was at UCLA and Arizona State, and then I spent 2 seasons in the SEC with Texas A&M, Coach Sumlin.
So were you ever on opposing sidelines? Because Coach Regal was at Cal for a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've gone against Coach Regal probably 3 times, I would say. We were at Arizona. We played Cal. We beat him. And then I believe when I was at UCLA, while he was with Coach Rich Rod, we beat him a couple times when I was at UCLA. So, yeah, we've had some rival, and I think I'm undefeated versus him.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you knew what the all-time record was.
Yeah.
Clearly you do.
I'm counting, no doubt. I'm counting. So, yeah, I think I'm 3-0, maybe 4-0 versus him.
All right. Well, take us through the conversation when Coach Regal called you when he got the job and said, hey, I'd like you to come to this place called Pocatello.
Yeah, you know, it's always been a dream job for me to become an offensive coordinator. I've been waiting for it, you know, watching my father for the last 30 years be a play caller. That's something that, you know, I was accustomed to, and that's what my goals were in life. And so, yeah, every year I've been reaching out to become an offensive coordinator, and it's all about timing and who you know. And I thought it was one late afternoon. It was kind of funny. I just got done recruiting Phoenix, Arizona. I was going to school, and usually I see Coach Regal because me and him usually go head-to-head in recruiting. I'm tell you what, all right, I beat him on the field a couple times on Saturdays, but he's beat me many times in recruiting. I'll tell you that. He's a very good recruiter, and so I was out recruiting Arizona, and I called Coach Regal a couple of times, hoping to see him at a school, and he never responded, never called me back, and so
ghosted you.
I was disappointed, and but I could tell he was kind of going, maybe was busy, probably was doing in-home visits for Cal. I didn't take it very personal. I knew he was busy, and then I knew that you know, once I got back to San Diego after off the road recruiting. I saw on Football Scoop, I believe, that Coach Regal was named the head coach at Idaho State. So I understood why he wasn't answering my phone call or text. So was so excited for him. I mean, I know just what he brings to a program. Seeing him from even when I was in 2010 at Arizona State, you know, he was the head coach at Chaparral. And he was the dominant program in high school rankings, and definitely turned that program into a championship program. He GA'd at Arizona State. I GA'd at Arizona State, so we have a relationship of knowing the GA lifestyle there in Tempe. So, anyways, we know each other for quite a while, and knew him in Cal, and while I was at Arizona State as well. So, yeah, I shot him a text, which I, you know, kind of done through the process of trying to get a head coach on the phone, and sure enough, in 3 minutes, he responded and said, "I'll give you a call sometime later tonight or tomorrow," and there began the process.
So you reached out.
I reached out. Okay. Yeah, you got to in this world. You got to reach out first.
You do. You have to market yourself, don't you?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of great coaches out there, and I'm sure a lot of great coaches that want to work on Coach Regal's staff. And, you know, when he got the job, I was like, man, this fits perfect for me. And just I reached out, and I remember I was taking my 2 sons to the park in San Diego, and I just shot the text, and I was just kind of hanging out with the guys out in the park, and sure enough, he responded, and I was excited just to get a response.
So then you get to ISU, you hit the ground running. You guys had to get to work in terms of recruiting, right, and getting players in. What areas did you cover? A specific region, specific position?
Yeah, I think the first thing is you got to look at your roster, what you have, where the holes to fill. who was leaving transfer portal wise. I mean, nowadays with transfer portal and a staff change, and there's going to be a lot of guys that want to move on, and I understand. And so just trying to figure out, all right, who is leaving, who's not leaving, and then just kind of from quarterback room to O-line room to running back room to receiver room to tight end room, just the pecking order of what we need and what schemes that we're going to run and what talent do we have at that position. And so I would, vaguely, I kind of remember we broke it up in areas. I had San Diego, tough. I had to go back to that 75-degree weather in January, but went out to San Diego and then went through Vegas and was just trying to, I think the main task that we had was to try to build a relationship with the Idaho coaches. And that was the main goal that Coach Regal said was we want to reach out to all the high school coaches near Pocatello and just build that relationship and understand that the front door is open for them to talk ball or anything like that. And then Salt Lake City was another thing that we really hone in on is like there's a lot of talent right now in Salt Lake City and really want to develop that pipeline from Salt Lake City up to Pocatello. So those are kind of things that we were trying to iron out on what areas. And I've recruited Salt Lake City in the past when I was at UCLA in 2015, had a couple of guys signed. So knew the area, and so we just kind of went around and kind of gathered information, but it happened fast, and while other teams are signing guys, you're just trying to find out who's the best availability. And then obviously knowing, kind of student athlete they are and what they bring to our culture. And so, it's fun, it's fast, but it was exciting times.
Yeah, was there one Idaho school or coach you reached out to and you're like, they got a good thing going on here, or this really struck me in a certain way?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in town, Highland High School, Gino, obviously an Iowa State Bengal. I know he's recently not there anymore, but, obviously I knew what type of program he runs, and being a Bengal, it was really cool, and then obviously he had a great player, Ian Hershey, and so it was just really cool to be a part of that. The whole staff went and to meet Gino and to see this, the school, and it was cool just to be a part of that. Just really trying to show as much love in our own town, and that's the biggest important thing with the community is just feeling that connection between community, high school to college, that we're all in this together as one. And so that's what winning. I've seen a lot of winning cultures, and it starts from the high school level to the community to the university. And so that was our main goal, was just trying to get our faces out as soon as we can and meet the guys. And then Coach Spillett, went to go see Coach Spillett at Pocatello High School. I got a story about that if you want me to.
Yeah, let's do it. This is what the podcast is for, these long form
yeah,
stories.
Exactly. So so in 2010, I don't know how the rules were in NCAA, but we could do like spring camps or summer camps, I believe, for high schools. College coaches could. And so my father runs a system called the End Zone system, and basically it's a system that you can pay for, and you get a playbook, you get call sheets, you get practice plans, and you get our cut-ups from Arizona State. So it's kind of a cool deal. It's pretty cheap. And he also had like this other price where you have to go visit. You can come visit, or we can visit and run a camp for a 2-day camp deal. And so I don't know what happened. I remember I was at Arizona State breaking down film, doing some GA job, and my dad comes down the corner and he goes, "Hey, I need you to pack your bags. You're going to Salt Lake City tomorrow." I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's go. Let's get ready." So I pack my stuff, and we go to the airport the next morning in Sky Harbor, Phoenix, Arizona, and he drops me off thinking that he was going to come with me. And he said, "Hey, I can't go until probably about 2 days from now. So I'm going to send you out there. You got an O-line coach that's going to meet you at Salt Lake City. He's going to pick you up. He's going to drive you to Pocatello, Idaho," which I've never heard in my entire life. I knew somewhat that Jared Allen played at Idaho State, but I didn't know it was Pocatello, Idaho. So sure enough, I landed. It was kind of late in Salt Lake City Airport, and here comes his O-line coach, Coach Peavy. I believe he was living in Oklahoma, Arkansas at the time. Never met the guy. Great man. But he picks me up, and we ride the 2 hours and 25 minutes up to Pocatello, Idaho. We end up getting a room at the Red Lion Hotel. And I remember there was no soap in the bathroom. So I just remember that. And I remember he kept it really cold in that hotel room that night. And I remember freezing, didn't sleep at all. So the next morning we woke up and went to Century High School, which I believe I could say that. Make sure it's not a recruiting violation, but Century High School. Went out there and saw Coach Spillett, and I could tell on his face he was very disappointed that my father, who was the reason why he said yes to us coming up there, wasn't going to show up that day. So he just looked at me and kind of gave me the dry erase marker and said, "Hey, you got the guy." So kind of remember being in a gym with the dry erase board, and this is probably like 2 months into the job of being a coach. Finally, I just got done playing. I haven't really ran my own room or really installed an offense in my life, and here I am at age probably 22, maybe 22 years old, in a high school gym in Century High School in Pocatello, Idaho, installing the offense that we're pretty much running right now here at Idaho State. So kind of full circle. It's kind of strange. And by the way, it was a great camp, 2-day camp. My father ended up showing up the last day during, we had like a little 5-minute segment of a team period, and he showed up. And I'm like, you just waste your time. We don't need you here. And I remember Coach Spill and I kind of had that relationship then. And then I got the job when it was announced on social media. I believe Coach Spill was probably the first person to text me and said, "Hey, congratulations, welcome to Pocatello again." So kind of full circle. It's funny how small the world is, and you never know.
Yeah, what a wild story. Yeah, Coach Spill used to be at Century. Now he's at the rival, Pocatello.
Yep.
And
yeah.
Do you think your dad was testing you, kind of pushing you out of the nest to see how you would do?
I believe, never know what my dad's thinking, honestly, but it was very awesome just to build that confidence as a young coach. Like, yeah, I mean, I was sitting in a room with, I think it was like 50 guys, and to sit in the front of a room and install an offense for your first time, you definitely earn your stripes right there, and you got to be confident in what you're saying. And I learned a valuable lesson those few days, just being on my own with the football team. And it was just, yeah, like you said, I think in some ways I do believe my father was testing me and seeing if I actually could do the job or not.
Passed with flying colors, that's for sure. So you're the offensive coordinator, you coach the quarterbacks as well. How much time do you spend amongst the other, the receivers, the running backs, the offensive linemen? Because you're communicating to them as well.
I think, I mean, there's a lot of full trust in our coaching staff, and with Coach Payne and Coach Stewart and Coach Nick Alamalo, and Coach Weiser. We do a good job of meeting as an offensive staff daily, every morning and afternoon. The tight ends kind of meet close to us, so we can kind of pop in and out. O-line are just down the hallway from us, so I can kind of pop in and out. But, we've kind of knocked that out during spring ball and then fall camp. And so right now we're in the season mode of now we're just trying to teach them the schemes that we're going against. And, there's not, and it's kind of the schedule and being an early morning. It's not like we have a lot of time to just meet as a group and to talk as a unit quite yet. But we'll find time. Usually Friday nights at the hotel, like last Friday, had a chance to talk to those guys. And then we had a group install meeting while we're in the hotel in Vegas. So those are the times that you get a chance to really meet as a unit. And but yeah, it's been a really fun process so far, game planning with the staff.
Definitely, and I've always been curious about this as well, where you're the offensive coordinator. Do defensive guys ever come to you, just to get a break from the head coach or the defensive coordinator, just to ask your opinion on something, or just?
Oh yeah. I mean, Coach Pierre and Coach Holiday, Coach Cody, those guys are always kind of coming in and picking brains and, "Hey, did you see that? What do you guys do this?" I mean, just recently I was in with the coach and talking past concepts just because of his past and, getting information, So I think those are the bounce back ideas. You want to do it versus a defensive guy because they're going to tell you if it's going to work or not. So I think there's a lot of, with the staff that Coach Rago has brought here, everyone's working together and everyone feels comfortable just bringing out ideas with one another and, how to execute on an offensive standpoint and as a defensive standpoint, what makes it tough for us.
Yeah, it really does seem like a collaborative effort thus far. So we'll take a break on Roaring with the Bengals, and then we'll come back and actually talk about what happened last Saturday, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we'll dive into that game against UNLV. We'll be back right after this break. It's Roaring with the Bengals on isubengals.com.
Bengal family, we are back. We are so excited for the Prepare to Roar campaign this year, and we are counting on you to be too. Your generosity to Bengal athletics makes an incredible difference for the overall student-athlete experience and for all our teams. It's so great to have fans, family, and friends and alumni who support us, give back, make our programs better, and lay a foundation for a strong future ahead. By investing in Bengal athletics this fall, you are helping make the following possible.
Enhancements and upgrades to the Jared Allen Strength and Conditioning Facility, where I'm at now. an improved budget to offset the cost of recruiting for our coaches,
an educational experience that will change my life, all made possible by a generous scholarship and cost of attendance support.
New equipment for all our teams that will help us compete for our conference titles.
Future projects that will set us, the Idaho State Bengals, apart from the rest of the Big Sky Conference.
The Prepare to Roar campaign builds momentum each year because alumni and friends from across the globe choose to give back and make a difference in supporting student athletes who will change the world. You can open doors, and your support makes a difference. By stepping up and participating in the Prepare to Roar campaign this fall, you are creating a powerful experience that changes lives. Join us starting August 22nd and help the Bengals prepare to roar. Thank you.
Back on Roaring with the Bengals on ISUBengals.com. Brandon Baney with Idaho State offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach Taylor Mazzone. So last Saturday, you finally get to play a game. You go down to the Raiders / UNLV Stadium in Las Vegas. It's a hot day. 52-21, the final score, but really for 3 quarters, pretty even matchup against the Rebels. But what was the mood and the talk to the team like after the game?
Yeah, I think our first time going against an opponent, wasn't the outcome that we wanted for 4 quarters, but it was just that, how are we going to respond? How are we going to these teachable moments? How can we get better from what had just happened? And so I think Coach Rago did a great job of just trying to build up the guys, and the fight at the end, the third quarter, the fourth quarter. It wasn't like we're going to back down, and that's what Idaho State football is about, is giving 4 quarters. We just had 1 quarter kind of got out of hand a little bit. They made some plays, and we didn't make plays, and so. But at the end of the day, I felt, when we came off the field, we were upset, but I felt like, what, we can grow from this, and that's the biggest thing. It wasn't more of disappointment. It was more like, all right, how can we get a better outcome than what just happened? And that's what we'll see, this bye week right now going on, and kind of cleaning up the MAs, as we say, and then growing from there.
Yeah, I really thought what took a lot of the pressure off was in the first quarter, first drive for you guys, and Tyler Vanderwalt delivers a dime to Xavier Guillory, and he makes a nice catch and picks up 20 plus yards. Yeah, that was one of those plays where it kind of broke down, and
that's what we're gonna need, some of those plays in that game, and that was nice to see Vanderwalt break the pocket, and Xavier made an unbelievable, one of the best catches I've seen. But that's what you're gonna need on a big stage versus an opponent like that.
Did you feel after that play it was kind of like we're
Yeah, I mean, it's always that first down is what we're looking for. That's where you get your momentum. And I feel like if you watch the game, once we got our first down, we moved the ball, and I thought their D-line and their second, their D-line was pretty talented. Our O-line did a great job for, obviously trying to execute the offense, but, we were just trying to focus on the run of the game, run the ball and get that momentum going. But once we got that first down, I felt like we were on a roll and guys were executing. The quarterback felt comfortable. But yeah, that first 2 drives, was very pleased on, getting the ball across the 50 and getting into the red zone.
Yeah, and then also in the first quarter there was a 2-series play where it was 3rd and 3. Mm-hmm. You guys just pounded it up the middle. Yeah. I thought it was enough for the first down. But then they said, no, 4th and inches, so you lined up and you just pounded it up the middle. To me, that's almost as impressive as the Guillory catch, because the defense knows you're going to run right up the gut.
Formation tells you everything.
Right. And and you guys were able to execute twice.
That was exciting times. I thought, we call that the culture play. What is our culture versus their culture? And I was very pleased on just the O-line, moving the D-line, and, just converting on that 3rd and short. Short yardage is an attitude. And I felt like when we had those moments, which there was time in the 3rd quarter with Hunter Hayes when he had to run the ball on 4th and 1, I believe, and got the first down. Like, it was just some powerful runs that we converted, and that was nice to see.
Yeah, with offensive lines, typically they're, as a unit, a little stronger at either run blocking or pass blocking. Mm-hmm. Do you, assessing where the O-line is, it looks to me like maybe run blocking a little bit better right now, but what is your...
Yeah, I felt like Coach Payne did a great job getting those guys ready for the game. I felt like Run game, we put some good stuff on film. Still some stuff that we can grow from and get better. In the pass game, I could have helped a little bit on, getting a little bit easier concepts faster. They're getting the ball out faster, but they're going to win some. They're going to win some. We're going to win some. So I think it was a battle in that game, and stuff that we can just grow from and get ready for this week.
Definitely. Another big highlight was the 55-yard touchdown from Tyler Vanderwall to Jalen Johnson. Take us through the play. What was the play? What was the read?
Yeah, we had a 12 personnel formation out there that we were running the ball in, and I believe it was after the third down run, and we had the same personnel out there, and you could kind of feel the safeties kind of coming down a little bit, and I know Vanderwall is pretty good on these shot plays downfield. He's got a strong arm and he's accurate. So, and you got speed out there too. You got Xavier on the left and you got Jalen Johnson on the right. So, kind of a time that we got to attack downfield. And usually when you attack downfield, yes, you want to complete the shot play, but also get them off us a little bit so we can run the ball a little bit. So, but those receivers, Coach Stewart did a great job just teaching those guys how to execute that play, and protection was great. Tight ends did a great job on that 7-man pro, and Vanderwall laid it out there on the perfect dime, and it was fun. Sideline was feeling it, and wish we had more of those.
Definitely. So you brought up a good point. Like the deep throw is nice to complete, but also it's setting up later in the game to give you some breathing room. Every play you call is designed to not only for that play, but to set something up later down the road, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. You gotta. Because those guys watch film too, and they're evaluating our film and our formations. And yeah, they didn't really know what we were going to do technically, because obviously I came from University of San Diego last year, so I know they used the University of Arizona film where I came from prior with my father, where we kind of ran the similar offense. So I knew they were watching those cut-ups, and then we watched basically Cal's defense the whole week. Not much UNLV because of Keith Hayward getting hired as a defensive coordinator. We knew it was a different, so it was just different game planning. Like we're watching Cal players, and kind of getting ready for Cal, but really it's UNLV. So just to schematically look at Cal, and I felt like it was just, then you had to watch the personnel in UNLV to physically see what we're dealing with and what players you're going against. But, nowadays with the transfer portal and guys bouncing back and forth, you really don't know what you got until you walk on that field.
So yeah, that's a great point. Then do you see this becoming more of a trend where you're scouting scheme and coach rather than personnel on that specific team?
Yeah, you're always looking for scheme first. You want to call a play for a quarterback that is going to beat that type of coverage or pressure. And so, yeah, I think we just did a good job of diving into Cal a little bit and somewhat of getting some things. And then there's also his personality and his defense that you don't know, the unknowns. But yeah, I think both staffs are kind of in the dark a little bit on what film are we watching.
Right. So we get to the second half, and at that point, they've had the 35-0. So the game's out of reach at that point. In terms of, does that help the players relax a little bit more, knowing that, hey, we don't let's just go out and execute a couple of plays?
I think it's it's not relaxed. I wouldn't say that word. I would say it's a little bit more of, hey, we got to, forget what just happened. And second half, we got to turn it up a notch. We got to execute at a higher level. We got to be more physical. We have to just execute the plan, And, I think those, 3 and outs 3 times in a row, just trying to get that first down, put pressure on us, and then obviously, they got some players that could play. They got some receivers that are talented, and I just wish we could help convert on third down and just get the ball going a little bit. And second quarter just could not get it going the way that we thought we could. But then the second half comes around, and I felt like the guys stepped in, and there was leadership that we saw on the sideline that you love to see, that you can build from for the next couple weeks to the end of the season. Guys that stepped up and helped communicate. To execute the plays.
Yeah, so what were some of the things you saw? Who were some of the guys that were stepping up?
Yeah, I thought TC, Kerry did a great job of kind of always being that positive guy, giving me feedback of what runs that, what he was liking out there. I felt like, Hunter Hayes was obviously a guy that kind of played more in the second half, or maybe the whole second half. So he kind of had a little bit more of a, different tone to him a little bit. He was trying to fight for us for the last 2 quarters. Xavier Guillory, we knew that he was out there kind of, handling his business out there and getting open for us. And then Jalen Johnson, and then running backs, Raiden and Soldier. Those guys did a great job just with their consistency of their play. Gave us more confidence in the second half of just believing in them and handing the ball off to them and knowing that there's one of those runs are going to break for a big play. We didn't know when, but it was going to happen someday, some one of those 7 plays. And so that was the exciting time of just seeing those guys kind of working together and trying to finish off the right way.
Yeah, so you mentioned Hunter Hayes played the second half. He and Tyler Vanderwall do a lot of things similarly, but there are some differences in what they do. Vanderwall's got the rocket attached to his arm. It can really stretch the field, and Hunter Hayes is a little shiftier. Do you have specific packages, specific plays, depending on which guy's in, or do you just kind of expect them to make?
Yeah, they're going to run the offense. Hunter and Tyler have to execute the offense from play 1 to play 80. Like, that has to be the same plays. There'll be some packages where, we like to put Hayes in a little bit. That's more aggressive run schemes. But they both can handle it. I think Vanderwall could run the ball if we asked him to. He's a big enough kid, strong. Just using them the right way and executing the right way is most important.
I thought one of the most impressive plays I saw from Hunter Hayes was actually a pass that was dropped by Cyrus Wallace in the end zone. Just the ability for him to squeeze it into a really tight window and deliver it in a pretty good spot, even though officially it won't show up in the stat book. I thought it was a really impressive throw.
No, they brought the nickel off the edge, and he was kind of hot in that situation, and Cyrus was in there and kind of had a little bit wrong landmarks between 2 receivers, but Sticks did a good job of just kind of laser in there while that guy off the edge was free. So yeah, it was fun to see him just keeping his eyes downfield and not flinching off edge pressure.
Now, when you say landmarks, that's coach speak. Is that spacing?
Yeah, that's spacing. So every concept, they have a certain part of the field that they have to get to, and it was just a real good teaching moment right there for that group to see where the landmarks have to be in that situation.
So you had the quarterback battle in fall camp. Tyler Vanderwall won the starting job, but a lot of coaches will say that it's fluid. You have to earn that spot every week. It's always a competition, right?
100%. Every practice, every game, we want to put the best product on the field and what our team feels like is the best quarterback to help us win the football game. And that's the end of the day, we're here to win. So I think Vanderwall and Sticks, I'm lucky to have both those guys in there competing. That's the most important thing is you have a competitive quarterback room, you have a competitive team, and that's very nice to see those 2 young men every practice giving their all and putting their best foot forward to be the guy.
How much do you weigh in-game performance versus practice performance versus film? Because fans will watch and they just see the games and they go, "Oh, well, this guy's clearly better than this guy." But they're not seeing all of the film sessions. They're not seeing the practices. So how do you split that up?
Obviously, we know who our guy was going into the week. And they both had a great week of practice. Going into the game, we already knew we were going to play 2 quarterbacks, so that was not really a hard evaluation. It wasn't, why, it's when. And so we got a point in the game where we knew it was time for Hunter to get the ball and get it like just a little bit of a different vibe out there, as you would say, and put 7 out there and do his thing. I know his helmet popped off, and then get him off the field, and Vanderwall went back in and finished the drive. But yeah, it's just kind of a feeling that we all have on the sideline who's executing better, and obviously, but we have full belief and trust in both of those guys, and we're lucky to have both those guys.
So real quick, we'll ask about the bye week. How do you divvy up the practices there?
Yeah, right now, bye weeks this early in the season is very rare, so it's kind of a unique situation, but. Bye weeks are to get guys' legs back, get the arms back. Maybe it's not as long as a practice. We're not hitting as much right now. We're just trying to get the legs back and get guys ready to go academically and mentally ready to go for the long season. And so right now we're just trying to work on, same rotation. Both guys are going out there and competing. They're the same amount of reps. One guy's with the ones, one guy's with the twos, and just growing from there. Nothing really has changed so far, but just looking for the consistency. And the main thing, like I said, is teachable moments in that game Saturday is not making the same mistake twice. And so watching practice, we're going to take the clips and the plays that we didn't proper execution and run it versus scout team or run it versus our defense and see if he made the same mistake twice. And that kind of helps me understand that he's coachable and he's learning from his mistakes, and we're moving on to the next week.
Yeah, and it'll be another full week as you guys get ready to go to a place you're pretty familiar with, San Diego.
Yeah.
Be a good time. Get that tan back looking good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Taylor Mazzone, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach here at Idaho State University. Thanks for joining us on Roaring with the Bengals. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brandon. Had a good time. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll be back with another guest right after this on isubengals.com. Welcome back to Roaring with the Bengals on isubengals.com, brought to you by the Idaho Drug Overdose Prevention Program, reminding fans that they can stop opioid overdose. Fans are encouraged to get and carry naloxone, the medication that reverses opioid overdose. Help your loved ones get naloxone. You could save a life. Visit stopoverdoseidaho.org to find naloxone near you. Brandon Baney back, new guest now. It's ISU men's basketball coach Ryan Looney. Coach, thanks for coming by in the off season. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
I figured you'd be on a sunny beach somewhere, but you actually just went for a little visit down to Panama with the team. Tell us a little bit about the trip. How did it get started? How did you come up with the idea to come down and go down there?
Well, the NCAA allows you to take an international tour with your team once every 4 years. We've worked pretty hard over the time we've been here to fundraise some money. Obviously extremely thankful to all of our donors who helped contribute to the trip. I personally had done the exact same trip with one of my teams in the past. We took a travel party of about 45 people to Panama. My wife and I were the only ones that had been there before. We knew kind of exactly what we were getting ourselves into, knew it would be amazing. Thought it would be a great opportunity for all the guys in our program and our staff as well. A lot of the things you experience are maybe a once-in-a-lifetime type opportunity for a student athlete.
So how long was the trip? How long were you gone for?
We were there for 6 days, I believe. And during that time, we played 3 games against international competition. But there were a lot of other parts of the trip to kind of help bring the group together as well. We stayed in a fabulous resort, but we toured the Panama Canal by foot and by boat. We did a kind of a scenic tour by foot of the old historical area of Panama City, including their presidential palace. And then we had a day between games where we spent half a day on a catamaran out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean to a place called Tobago Island. So a lot of different experiences for everyone.
Did you get to do any fishing while you were on the catamaran?
No, we didn't do any fishing. A lot of just enjoying the warm weather, sun, scenic boat ride. And like I said, we made a stop at an island out in the Pacific as well.
Hey, you can't beat that. And I noticed as you were describing all the activities that you did with the team, we took this tour by foot. We did this by foot. That's that sneaky conditioning. Guys are getting their steps and they don't even know it, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think the canal itself, to see everything, you needed to do half by foot and half by boat. Beyond Sports was the company that took us on the trip. Josh Erickson is a friend of mine. He did a really good job organizing everything from start to finish for us.
So once every 4 years, can we petition to get this like once every 2 years? Something? I mean, that'd be incredible.
I've already had people asking who went with, where are we going next year? Unfortunately, the NCAA doesn't allow you to do that.
Yeah, oh, that's too bad. So let's talk about the actual basketball that you were able to participate in. Tell us about the opponents you played and kind of how they would compare to maybe an American team, because we're not super familiar with Panamanian basketball.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things in regards to basketball that maybe the average fan doesn't realize when you're taking one of these trips. When you do it, the NCAA gives you more practice time in the summer. So we have a group of 10 new players. That extra time together in the summer in preparation before even going on the trip was huge for us. In the month of August, we got an opportunity to step on the floor 3 times against another team, which with a group of a bunch of new players obviously makes us feel like we're ahead of schedule right now. The teams we played was interesting. I wanted to play against teams that were kind of together, older, maybe would put us in some situations where we were experiencing a ton of physicality. Like I said, I had been on that specific trip before, so I knew exactly how the games would be officiated. They let a lot more go with FIBA rules. Our first game was against the Guatemalan national team. I would guess the average age of their players was probably 30. The officiating was exactly like we expected, extremely physical. Took our team a little while to kind of adjust to what that actually looked like in the game. I think we ended up winning that first game by about 20. Thought our guys did some really good things. The second game we played against Panama's 21 and under national team. And I requested that because you never know. A foreign country might have a player we might want to eventually recruit. I don't know that was necessarily the case, but a younger, more athletic team that wanted to try to get up and down. Quite frankly, I was shocked with how well our team played in that game. Wasn't obviously televised. People couldn't pull it up on ESPN Plus and watch, but in that game, we started up 28-2, and we're hitting shots from all over. And a lot of different people too. I think we ended up winning by 61. And it wasn't a situation where we were trying to run up the score or anything like that. I think we got to halftime and had already put 12 different players into the game. And then had a day off in regards to playing the next day, but then came back for our last game and played against the Guatemala national team again, which was a great opponent to play twice. They were older, organized, extremely physical. And I was impressed with them in the third game because they came out with a distinct game plan. We're trying to be as physical as they possibly could, kind of just pushing us out of everything we were trying to do. We actually started down at the end of the first quarter in that game, and then kind of had to chip away, took the lead again by halftime, and then kind of exploded in the second half. We got up by as much as 40, and I think won by 30-something. So I think we got a lot out of it. I think we found out that we're a much bigger team in regards to length. We shot it better from 3 than we have at any point in my time at Idaho State. 2 of the 3 games, we hit at least 12 threes in it. I think our point guard play was fantastic. Miguel Tomley had a really good trip. I think he averaged 21 points a game in the 3 games. I thought we got great guard play also from Brock McKenzie and A.J. Bergen, who kind of shared that off-guard position. And then just a slew of other guys at the other spots with length. Austin Smaley's continued to be steady for us. Jay Nagel, who's a new player, had a nice trip. Jared Rodriguez as a returner played well. Everyone's excited about Colby Lee transferring from BYU, and he was good. Back to the basket scorer, probably our leading rebounder on the trip. I could go on and on. A lot of different guys played well when they got on the floor.
You mentioned A.J. Bergen. I obviously saw him last year. It seems like a physical type of game is right in his wheelhouse. Did he thrive in that situation?
Yeah, he did. First game, got himself into a little bit of foul trouble, had to sit for an extended portion of time in that first half. But I thought after that, the last 5 halves of basketball we played, I thought he was really, really good.
And international play, it's really physical on the perimeter, right? As a point guard especially, you have to bring your hard hat and your lunch pail, right?
Yeah, I give the example, like the third game we played against Guatemala. We won the jump ball, threw it to Miguel Tomley, and his man sprinted up, two-hand shoved him twice with no foul called. So we kind of had to weather that storm for the first quarter of that international game till we could kind of get our feet underneath us.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about Miguel, because he's one of the several new players that are coming, but he's really impressed early on.
Yeah, he's a big, skilled guard, about 6'3", 200 pounds. Can really, really shoot it from deep. I think there was a stretch in the second half of our last game where he hit 6 threes and ended with 34 points, if I can remember correctly. But really good kid, guy that his teammates love being around, and really good basketball player too.
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity with all these new faces that have come in to bond a little bit and have some camaraderie. In terms of team building, this was probably a slam dunk.
Yeah, it was. Just a lot of different things that your team can experience together that you wouldn't normally experience. I mean, just the times where you're hanging out on the bus to get from point A to point B, or long flights to a foreign country. Like I said before, we stayed in a really nice resort while we were down there. Just the downtime where they have opportunity to hang out with each other at the pool, eating different types of food at every meal together. This kind of once in a lifetime opportunity for some of these guys.
Yeah, you mentioned the different food. What was the most exotic thing that you or the players said?
You know what? I don't know that anything was that exotic. Maybe some of the fruits were different. If you asked me to say the name of some of them, I couldn't tell you. And I think just how food was served, and maybe some of it was maybe unique in regards to what the options were. A lot of rice, a lot of meat, a lot of vegetables. I wouldn't use exotic as the term, but definitely a little bit different than what we normally eat in America.
Different style for sure.
Yeah.
So who's emerged as a leader on this team? Is it one of the guys that's returning like a Jared Rodriguez? Is it a newcomer like Miguel who's really ascended to that position?
Yeah, I think for us, it is and could still potentially come from a lot of different areas. We definitely have some freshmen on the team that need some mentorship from some of the older guys, but I think some of those older guys don't necessarily need to be returners either. Austin Smaley's always been somebody that we can lean on, has had great leadership in our program. I don't see that changing. We got a number of guys that have experienced high levels of college basketball at other places as well, and can kind of use the knowledge that they've obtained to help our group. Colby Lee is a great example. One of the reasons he came to Idaho State is he thought it would be an opportunity for him to improve in regards to his leadership abilities. Miguel Tomley has kind of just emerged as a fun-loving guy that people like to be around. Brock McKenzie is a 4-year college basketball player. My last team at Point Loma that was in the Division II National Championship game, Brock was a freshman on that team, so I've recruited him twice. I'm really familiar with what his character is like and his ability to lead people around him. Jay Nagel played for 4 years at UC Santa Barbara on a team that was in the NCAA tournament. So I could talk about a lot of different guys, but there's a lot of guys that have a lot of unique, great experiences that can help our group.
Do you see that being a trend now with the transfer portal where you've got new faces, yet you could still be an older team? You don't necessarily lose that leadership?
Yeah, I think it might be. The transfer portal and some of the other rules that have changed over the last couple of years have kind of completely changed the landscape of college basketball and how we have to recruit. We've got a bunch of guys who came from the portal. I don't know that that's necessarily what we need to do every year moving forward. But I think what it has done is kind of just change your mindset. As a coach, you got to be open to looking for talented players in every area, whether that's from a high school, from the transfer portal, from a junior college, maybe a kid from another country. I think it makes you really open your eyes and take a look at what's out there from every area.
A U21 Panamanian player, perhaps?
Yeah, be a great example.
Right, for sure. This is going to be the fans are going to want to analyze and scrutinize starting lineup, rotations. Who was the sixth man? All this. You went with the same starters for all 3 games, right?
Yeah, we did, and I think we did that because we felt at that time that's what gave us the best chance to win. We also know that we've got a long time between when we ended that trip and when we play our first counting game of the season, and things could change. I think we have another unique dynamic. We got back from the trip and added another player to our program. So we've added one more even since we've gotten back, who has a chance to be a special player in a Bengal uniform as well. So if you were to ask me right now, what exactly is your starting lineup going to be, what 8, 9, 10 guys are going to play on game day, I couldn't tell you for sure. And I don't know that I want to say yet either, because we feel like we've upgraded our talent. We feel like we've got a much more unselfish team. We feel like like I said before, we've got great length, size, ability to shoot. We want all these guys to have an opportunity right now before we really have to dial it in November.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of versatility with the roster right now as well. You could start a guy at the 4 or the 3, 1 or the 2. There's some interchangeability with the players.
Yeah, and that's kind of been our mindset when we've been out recruiting. Quite frankly, it was really the first year our staff's been able to get out on the road and bring people to campus since we've been here because of all the COVID stuff. So I think you hit the nail on the head. Within what we do, especially on offense, we want our guys to be interchangeable. Have a ton of guys on the roster that we feel comfortable playing at different positions. At the end of the day, you got to kind of piece it all together and get the right guys out there on the floor together as much as possible.
So we've gotten a couple of basketball breadcrumbs, and now you're going to go away for a little bit. What's the schedule look like? When are you guys back? When can the fans start, get excited?
Off the top of my head, I think we can start official practice September 24th. We can use 30 days in a 42-day span there before we play our first counting game. So it's going to get real busy here real quick. We have a couple exhibition games. One, I believe, October 29th in Reed. We play again the very beginning of November in there as well. And then our our opener is on the road at BYU. And then I think we come back home against a non-Division I opponent shortly after that, and then play the following weekend on the road at Utah. So I do think with our schedule, we have some things we haven't had here at ISU in the past. If we had it here in front of us and we were breaking it down, we have a lot more home games against Division I schools than what we've had in the past. Our staff did a really good job reaching out to people, creating some contacts, building some relationships, getting people to come here to Pocatello. So hopefully that's something that can generate some interest from our fan base.
Well, as a hoop head, I can't wait, but we're going to have to. Good things come to those who wait. What an experience this was, and thank you, Coach Looney, for coming by to join us here on the show to talk about this incredible trip that you took with the team as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for tuning in to this edition of Roaring with the Bengals. It's been brought to you in part by Project Filter, reminding listeners and viewers that smoking and vaping both increase the severity of respiratory diseases, including COVID-19. For more information, go to projectfilter.org. All right, for men's basketball coach Ryan Looney and offensive coordinator Taylor Mazzone, our earlier guest, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next week for another edition of Roaring with the Bengals on ISUBengals.com.